Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Supreme Court today expressed reservations over a plea seeking a ban on pellet guns for crowd control, orally observing that the demand appeared vague as it did not challenge the existing police regulations that permit their use in exceptional circumstances. Now, the court questioned how law enforcement could be barred from using pellet guns if they are permitted to fire bullets when violence escalates beyond lathi charges and tear gas. Now, this was a bench of Justice Surikant, Justices Joy Malia Bagchi, and Justice V. Mohana. They were hearing a public interest litigation filed by former IPS officer Yashovardhan Azad and two victims of the pellet injuries, Prashanta Kumar Singh and Sheikh Irshad Mansoori. And this was related to the Rapid Action Forces response during the July 20th Chalo Sansad protest organized by the Cockroach Janta Party over NEET UG exam paper leaks in New Delhi. Now, the petitioners have alleged that the RAF fired pump action guns, spraying metallic pellets and indiscriminately into the crowd, causing serious injuries. Now, Singh and Mansoori, the two petitioners, claimed that pellets had to be surgically removed from their bodies after they were hit during the demonstration. Now, during the hearing, Justice Bagchi pointed out that police regulations allow the use of such weapons in exceptional situations and emphasized that a blanket ban prayer would be untenable without challenging the validity of those regulations. And it is this response by the Supreme Court which is being highly criticized. People are asking, first of all, why didn't the Supreme Court question the barbaric act of the Delhi police? At whose behest were they acting? All these questions were put aside. And even the petitioners who got injured during the police crackdown, there was no sympathy, it seemed, from the courts for them. And this is why, look at the Express headline: pellet gun use legal till rules allowing it held unconstitutional. This is what Supreme Court has said. But this is the legal side of it. Of course, the petitions are being filed in the Supreme Court. Now the Supreme Court has said and told the petitioners that since we cannot look at a blanket ban on pellet guns, you go back, modify your petition, and come back. We will look at the regulated use of pellet guns. But what about those petitioners who've lost their ear? Some have lost their eyes, some have lost their hands. Supreme Court hasn't really sided with them. Supreme Court hasn't empathized with them. So this is the legal part of it. But in Parliament, the opposition continues to maintain the heat on Home Minister Amit Shah. Now look at the fiery scenes coming this morning from the Parliament. The slogans raised by the India Alliance leaders. Where is Amit Shah? Amit Shah, come to the house. If we up the audio, let's listen to the slogans which were raised in Parliament. Narendra Modi Sadan mein aao, Amit Shah Sadan mein aao. Basically, both the Prime Minister and the Home Minister are evading Parliament. Many reporters who are covering Parliament have told me that they come to the premises of Parliament, but they don't come to the House. I'd like to put out a tweet by Rahul Gandhi this afternoon around 12:33 p.m. I think he wrote this tweet: students deserve justice. An independent, SC-monitored, high-powered committee must be constituted to probe brutalities against our students. Now, shouldn't the Supreme Court, shouldn't they have dealt into this particular issue? They completely sidetracked it. And in fact, no empathy with the petitioners who have got grievously injured. We'll try and discuss this, that is Amit Shah really evading Parliament? Till how long can he continue to do so? Because if you remember, Rahul Gandhi had held a press conference yesterday and one of the reporters asked him, to what extent, to what level will you carry this battle against Amit Shah? He said that I will go up to the last mile and I will ensure that Amit Shah doesn't remain in the cabinet. He says, Amit Shah ko jana hi hoga. This is what Rahul Gandhi said yesterday. But we'll try and decode what Supreme Court's observation today means and also what's happening in Parliament as far as the politics is concerned between the India Alliance and the BJP. Joining me this evening is Arun Agarwal, lawyer and activist. So thank you so much for joining. We have Sanjeev Sood, Books KDG, BSF. Thank you so much, Mr. Sood, for joining. We have Pushpraj Deshpande, who's an author and policy expert, works closely with the India Alliance as well. Thank you so much, Pushpraj, for joining. Let me begin with Pushpraj because he's traveling and he might get disconnected. I'll begin with what is happening in Parliament. Amit Shah continuously is evading Parliament. What we are told is that he comes to the Parliament but doesn't go to the House. How long can he continue to do that? And will Congress be able to force him to step down, to at least, if not step down, at least give a reply on the police crackdown?
A very good evening to you, our panelists and our viewers, Niluji. See, in May 2014, and then again in April 2020, Prime Minister Modi had said that Parliament is the supreme temple of Indian democracy, and I also think in uh, 2018, I think it was April 2018, when he said that he tweeted that he would like his government to be criticized because criticism makes a democracy strong. Now, given these statements, it would be incumbent on the Prime Minister and the Home Minister to actually face accountability and answer questions on the floor of the House. Now, if they have nothing to hide, if there is no wrongdoing, then there is no need for them to avoid accountability. As you know, in 1962, when there was the war with China, there was a special emergency session of Parliament called. It was extremely embarrassing for Prime Minister Nehru, who had advocated India-China partnership, bilateral relationships, and China had betrayed his trust. Nevertheless, Prime Minister Nehru attended every session of Parliament, and any MP, including backbench MPs, were allowed to criticize him and his policies, and he sat through it all and he answered every question. Now, these were the parliamentary and democratic traditions that India has seen. That if you make a mistake, you own up to it and you answer to the people through Parliament. That is the first thing. The second thing is, as you rightly pointed out, the Delhi Police, the Action Force, and the CRPF all report to Home Minister Amit Shah. Unless he claims that somehow he's outsourced the functioning of these three bodies to someone else, they still report to him. And I think, unless I'm very mistaken, in the morning I did check their mission statements and charters. All three of them are constitutionally obligated to abide and uphold the constitution, as well as protect citizens and social harmony peacefully. Now, if I know that they are used for to suppress riots and so on and so forth, that's a more structural question. But my point is that they have been brutal. It's apparent to anyone who's been following social media to now claim that nothing happened, or to claim that something happened but the home minister did not know about it, is unacceptable, because either he himself has ordered this, or he knew about the fact that it is happening but did nothing to stop it. Either way, either he's complicit or he's incompetent, and these require serious answers on the floor of the house. That's the second thing. And the third thing, which is the larger point, uh, you know uh, Saint Augustine said this, that an unjust law is no law at all. Now, if regulations require the allow for the use of pellet guns against civilians, I think that we have all seen what happens to them in Kashmir, to citizens in Kashmir. And yes, I understand that we none of us will stand by separatist sentiments. None of us will stand by anti-India sentiments. But the fact of the matter is that you cannot resort to conducting yourself as a dictatorship or a rump state like Pakistan. You have to be better, because we are India. We are the largest democracy in the world, and if that means that you have to tolerate dissent, like Dr. Manmohan Singh did when he was prime minister, and he was shown black flags and very aggressive mobs at the JNU, and he tolerated it. So my point is that he could have just this could have been handled much better. And if the pellet guns are permitted as per the regulations of the Delhi Police or the RAF, I'm sorry, but those regulations will have to be changed, because tomorrow, what's stopping them from using this against India's farmers or against India's workers? or against, I don't know, if tomorrow the media suddenly says that no, this is not right, what's stopping them from using it against the media? Or if someone, if retired armed force people say that this OROP is not working out for me, or Agniveer veterans say that this is not good enough for me, are you going to use pellet guns against them also? Who all are you going to line up and start
But
shooting and lathi charging?
right, absolutely. In fact, but one more quick question from you, Pushpraj. That 20th July, the police crackdown happened, and today is 30th, and almost 10 days have passed. Given the pace at which the government is continuing to brazen out, they're trying to divert attention through various characters like Kangana Ranaut, and I simply call it an attention diverter. The way she's speaking, it almost looks like she's taking the attention off the main issue. Are you hopeful really that Amit Shah is going to reply, or probably he might step down? Stepping down looks quite far fetched, but for the immediate gratification of the opposition, do you think that he will agree to reply?
See, firstly, let's get one thing clear. It is not for the gratification of the opposition that this question is being asked. The opposition is a vehicle. It's an expression of the people's will. And if students are genuinely angry about what has happened, the opposition is constitutionally mandated in a democracy to raise these concerns. So it's not the opposition's gratification. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that no, I'm not very hopeful about the BJP government actually responding to this, because see, on one hand, the prime minister said that stopping student leaks is a national responsibility, and Dharmendra Pradhan, the minister Dharmendra Pradhan, was made a sacrificial lamb, and a bunch of other things were done. Instagram messages were put out, and it was all conciliatory. But on the other hand, the prime minister and the home minister have started banning social media accounts. They have started putting pressure on universities like Delhi University, like JNU, like others in Mumbai University, to harass students and say that whoever went for these protests, penalize them. They have stopped funding for startups that were getting grants from the government of India if they supported, or if any of their employees supported these protests. I mean, there's a huge crackdown. AK-47 in Bihar, right? There have been in Bihar also, there are cases being filed against. I mean, even though the Bihar government has said we'll withdraw cases of against those who are under 18, anyone above 18 who is part of student activism is being prosecuted still. So I mean, on one hand you're saying something, on the other hand you're cracking down. So knowing the BJP, this is just a smokescreen. They are going to crack down very hard against everyone who believes in the constitutional idea of India, and they're wounded. And a wounded tiger, as you know, is much more vicious and much more aggressive
Right.
than any other time. So my sense is that there's going to be a massive crackdown. They are going to now try to ramrod the delimitation bill to completely gerrymander, because everyone knows now. Everyone knows the tide has turned. Everyone knows that in 2029 it doesn't look like these people are coming back, because understand this: the Gen Z constitutes to 6 to 7% of the electorate, which means about 7 crore people who are already voting against them. Then all those people who 10, 15% of the 35% vote that the BJP got voted for development, voted for Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas. They are not going to vote for them again. So they are aware of this. That's why they are going to now try to viciously force through the delimitation bill and the special intensive revision. So I'm not very sanguine about what the BJP could do, or whether it will suddenly become democratic and accountable and responsive. No, I am not.
Now, let me come to what the Supreme Court said today and how do we decode. I'm going to start with Arun Agarwal. Arunji, how would you really decode what Supreme Court today said? What did Supreme Court appear to be siding with Home Minister Amit Shah and his police, or it appeared as if he was having empathy with those who got injured because of the pellet gun attacks?
Good evening, Niluji. Supreme Court so far has never had sympathies with the masses, which is embodied in we the people. At least the bench headed by the Chief Justice of India. As a general this thing, whether it comes to voting rights, whether it comes to rights to protest, or whether it comes to the right of of the children to protest against their NEET exam. Each time when it has tested, it has never risen to that occasion. And in fact, on many a times you find that it makes casual, off the cuff remark, which is not even expected of any intelligent or a sober person, and which are, which aggravate the situation. That those remarks reflect their actual mentality, what they think, because in an unguarded moment they make it. Cockroaches, I don't have time to hear this. Don't waste my time, your time. All these show what is the mindset from which they take up a problem. And similarly, today's Justice Bagchi's remark was not in line with what the petition was saying. See, first of all, what regulation is he referring to? The Vinda Grover has not been able to find the regulation. It has not been supplied. There are no regulation that one is aware of. There may be some guidelines. Guidelines is no law. So what are you challenging over there? It has to be either rules, regulation, or the act. So what is he referring to? He doesn't want to address the problem, but he wants to empower the police and Amit Shah to keep on using force against
Yes.
peaceful protest, which is taking place all over the country.
No, but when you saw the hearing and then what you read on the live law and the bar and bench, all these legal websites, how they reported today's hearing, did it appear as if Justice Surikant and Justice Joy Male Bagchi and Justice Mohana were almost giving like a cover fire to Amit Shah and his police?
No, no. I mean, that is his agenda. That is why he has been selected as the Chief Justice of India. I'm not mincing any words. He could not have been selected for that post if the government had taken all the allegations of corruptions and other allegations that were there. There are at least 50 judges who were blameless, who didn't have any such allegation. So let us be very clear that judiciary is very close to the executive. And whatever drama may happen in the court, ultimately orders will be passed in favor of the government. And since Mr. Sood is here, I would also like to comment on the government forcing, from other cadre services to become Director General of Paramilitary Forces because they are politicized and they can control those DGs.
Yes.
And one of them was the Rapid Action Fire, and the court will not give them support. See, so you are seeing that gross injustice is being done. Take the case of appointment of election commissioner. If that they cannot feel is unjust to appoint an umpire, then what is unjust? So even in today's hearing, the issue, you see, we had mounted police. In fact, the Canadian police is still known as the mounted police, Canadian mounted police. Mounted police used to was used to control the crowds. With changing times, changing technology, you don't see a mounted police controlling the crowds anymore. I mean, I
No, but
haven't seen.
Aruji, I had one question in my mind, that are the courts and the government together trying to mislead? Now, by evening, early evening, the story also came out. All the newspapers have put it that Delhi government rules out legal action against the CJP protesters except those with criminal background. Now, what does that go to show? They are showing, I mean, one side shows their liberal face that, okay, we will forgive all the CJP protesters. On the other hand, you see that the court is weighing down heavily and not even siding with those who got injured with the pellet guns. What does this go to show? Is there some sort
This
of a
is,
confusion you can sense?
this is a typical Justice Surya Kant's order. How to protect the government interest through legal orders and trying to be very clever in doing so. Now, once an agreement has been reached between the government and the protesters, what does existing FIR or criminal background? If I have broken 144, or if I have broken just people who protest have broken, then there will be then FIRs can be filed against them. So you use cameras, sophisticated cameras. You do matching. You find out who this person is, you find out if there is FIR, and you go after it. So that permission, that back door, he has left open. And he was supposed to hear the matter the next day, he didn't hear it. He passed the order after hearing. So what was wrong with the order could not be pointed out in the court. And he would not take up the matter the next day. Having passed that order, he's posted the, instead of taking it the next day, he has posted it for Monday. So these are the legal tactics which are being used against us. We have seen it how he did it in SIR, how he committed the judiciary who were responsible for illegally striking down 70% of the votes that were appealed in the West Bengal. He made them act as ERO, ADJ acting as a ERO, deciding which votes will, which voter will continue on the rolls and which will not. And then when it is appealed, in one case, the ex-Chief Justice of Calcutta High Court heard 1,777 appeals, all of them went against the government. What does it show? That he will use his judicial power, 142 power, in order to rig the election in favor of the government, in favor of the BJP. So let us, have no expectancy. And he will hear all these matters. He will not give those matters to some other judge. That is another hallmark of the way this bench has been functioning. So we are living in exceptional times where the judiciary has totally combined with the executive. It is taking them 3 years to understand that one of the players, tomorrow I will nominate my judge and he will decide my case. Does it happen in any country?
Absolutely.
So Modi will appoint, Modi ji and Shah ji will appoint, and these two literally appointed the chief election commissioner, who will do all types of cheating in order to keep them in power. And these learned judges can't even see what is wrong with it. Today, the Justice Dipankar Datta wants to refer it to a bench more than 5. So 7 judges will decide the matter so that this man can complete his term and the government can be bailed out in the next election. That is a strategy.
Yes.
Who will respect these judges? These judges, you will find that in the slogans that were raised or in the interviews that were given, people included the judiciary. This Gen Z doesn't have faith in this judiciary also. It is only a matter of time. And that they don't realize. And it's one of the reasons that I don't know whether it was a coincidence, but 2 lectures which were pre-committed, where he was supposed to be a chief guest. In fact, I tweeted that he was supposed to, Justice Suryakant was supposed to deliver Justice Khanna, Senior H.R. Khanna's memorial lecture. And previous Chief Justice, who is his nephew, was one of the guests. So I said, 10 years later, we will be having memorial lectures. And the topic was, so many years, 50 years of Keshav Nand, that judgment that was the ADM Jabalpur judgment. So I said 10 years later, we will be having seminar on this 10 years of SIR. I'm very sure. So what is happening in the court is that these people think that just because we are sitting in the chair, we can keep on passing anti-people. What is the necessity of having of metallic bullets which can injure indiscriminately being fired upon a peaceful mob?
Right.
And
no,
why
but
can't we?
what you pointed out about the metallic bullets, while in fact Vrinda Grover, who's a lawyer from the petitioner side, she categorized all the different types of pellets, the rubber pellets, the plastic pellets, and she was saying that she was concerned because the pellets which were fired were the metallic pellets, and there is no order, there is no direction from the police, and therefore Vrinda Grover had to rely on the Bureau of Police Research and Standard. Now, coming to you, Mr. Sood, did you find Supreme Court's observation today as a very anti-student kind of a stance which Supreme Court took, with no empathy for the people who got injured in the pellet attack?
You see, I cannot but agree with whatever the previous speakers have said, that not only Supreme Court, all institutions of democracy appear to have been compromised in last about a decade or so. See, Supreme Court, while maybe while referring the asking the petitioners to get hold of the actual circular, etc., should have asked the government side to tell them as to who ordered the firing. Why was such brutal force used against the protesters who were, I think, 99% of the instances who were peaceful? I have one odd, maybe out of hundreds of social media videos that are available, I have found one odd, maybe which in which we can say that protesters had become violent. But then, who were those protesters who were getting violent? It is widely said, many people have commented, that those people who were using force against the police were the goons sent by the RSS and Bajrang Dal and all those things. Those people were openly seen heckling the protesters who were raising their issue of or who were raising their grievances. So compromise of institutions is beyond contest. Supreme Court should have asked the government to clearly state as to why the force was required to be used and why so much of force was required to be used. Having said that, I cannot but condemn the police leadership in and their functioning in the entire episode. Even if the circular is not available, there's a law called use of minimum force, which requires that graded force should have been used. They could have started with a warning announcement, going on to using water cannons,
But like what
going
you
on
are
to
explaining, Mr. Sood, we were expecting that the Supreme Court bench is going to ask questions on this line. But they stopped short. They did
absolutely,
not even ask a single question.
yes. So they did not ask anything. So, but then that doesn't sort of uh, give leeway to the police leadership to abdicate their responsibility. They are responsible for ensuring that their troops follow the procedure. They have failed in commanding, leading the troops from front. There were hardly any senior officer available. They were mostly constables and sub inspectors who were having to face the verbal wrath, if you may call it, of the protesters. They failed to educate their troops to uh, follow the procedure. And why was the necessity of deploying RAF? The deployment of RAF, the intentions were clear, that RAF is a riot force. So protesters were peaceful. There were no riots expected. Rapid action force is used against militants or insurgents or in case of riots. Deploying them made the intentions very clear. The police uh, abdicated, the police leadership not only abdicated their responsibility, the police also delegated their responsibility of ensuring law and order to the RAF. And RAF weapons are these kind of guns. They have offensive weapons, and as the general diary entry in one of the police stations makes it clear, that the pellet guns and tear smoke shells were used on the orders of the DCP concerned. So even if that be so, the commander of the RAF, who probably was an assistant commandant, should have ensured that the guns were used to sort of at the lower limbs. Maybe they could have used at the road itself just to scare. The sound of the fire would probably have scared many of the protesters to run away. They used it to aim at the higher limbs, injuring somebody's eye, making him almost partially blind, injuring his upper body, speaks for bad training, speaks of lack of knowledge of procedure, speaks very badly of the police leadership that commands these forces. And these forces come under the MHA, as you or somebody else was saying, that they still operate under the command of MHA. The Delhi police is directly controlled by the Home Ministry. So the overall orders for controlling the protesters, the protests, would certainly have come from the Home Minister. Many orders in such circumstances are not given in writing. They may be orders by the Home Minister or somebody to use force to disperse the crowd, because the protesters were totally unafraid. They were totally irreverent. They appeared to have lost the fear of the government and of
But
the law enforcement.
one quick comment from you, and then I'll take the concluding remarks from Mr. Agarwal, that you were saying that the police, almost the leadership, it looked like it abdicated its responsibility. Now, when the police abdicates its responsibility, did you find the courts also abdicating their duties of pulling up the powers that be? The court almost seemed to stop short of doing that.
Absolutely, I totally agree. The Supreme Court in this case has abdicated its responsibility of questioning the authorities. They should have questioned the authority as to why such brutal force was required to be used. Why were the troops not using graded
Right.
use of force?
Yeah. I'll come to Mr. Agarwal. Your concluding remarks, sir. Yeah.
In my opinion, the Supreme Court should have, this bench should have recused itself, saying that since they had called these people cockroaches, and this led to the establishment of the party and the protest movement, and later on when violence and all that was unleashed on them, and though there was no petition but a letter petition on which they made this comment that we don't have the time and you don't waste your time and don't waste our time and we don't have any time to look at the videos. So, which showed their bias already against this movement, against the youth, having described them as a cockroaches and then not intervened. So they should have very quietly and in a dignified manner, because the Chief Justice is also the master of the rooster, shifted this case to some other judge in whom people have confidence. And I don't want to name 5 judges where people say that we will get justice. That was their duty now. And then again, to be clever by half, rightly pointed out by Mr. Sood, that they should have said, ask the Solicitor General, where is the circular? Where is the regulation? Does it exist? Or is it just a SOP which has been sent to this thing?
Yes.
Left to your discretion? Everything, the proceeding itself, the procedure, lack of sympathy, everything can be seen.
Absolutely.
So to that extent, we are not getting a fair hearing in the Supreme Court.
Right.
And let them be aware of it, that people are openly commenting against it, and they are judges themselves who are commenting against their brother judges.
No, the moment PTI and the news agencies, the moment they put out the news alert coming in from the Supreme Court, there were a slurry of remarks which said disgusting, this is a disgusting approach by the Supreme Court. These are the kind of comments which were coming in. But we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for joining on HW.